Okay, you've been out shopping for houses and it happens that you have found the house that you really like. It's in the area that you really like and it's at a price that you can afford. So what you have done is you have viewed the house for $650,000 and you've decided that you want to place an offer on it. You ask your realtor to do a contract. The very first thing the realtor is going to do is an evaluation. The reason for that is the realtor wants you to enter into the negotiating process with a clear understanding of your own personal sense of price on the house that you are thinking about buying. The contract that is written is going to be conditional, which means it's going to be subject to financing, subject to inspection, that kind of thing. It's going to be time sensitive, so when the contract is presented to or forwarded to the seller is going to have a certain period of time to deal with it. That is normally 24 to 48 hours. If it is not dealt with, then the offer actually dies. The two main points of negotiating are price and dates. There are other points, of course, but for the purpose of this, we are going to be talking about price primarily. And what we're wanting to do is to demonstrate the negotiating process, not the line-by-line contract. So in looking at a snippet of the contract, we are actually going to be offering $620,000, and that's written in the contract in both text and it's also written numerically. We're offering $620,000 on the $650,000 list. That's our sense of value and our sense of where we want to start in the negotiating process. We have our deposit that we are going to put into trust after all of the subjects are going to be removed, and to understand that anything that we are talking about here relative to pricing are all negotiable points. Looking at the negotiating process, the buyer has met with the realtor. A contract has been written for $620,000. The contract is going to be presented to the seller via the seller's agent. The seller will have a bit of a chinwag with the realtor. They're going to talk about the contract, and they actually have three choices at this point. They can ignore, accept, or counter the offer. Given the fact that the offer is relatively close to the listing price and the seller's okay with dates, the seller has chosen to counter the offer. So in doing so, what the seller is going to do and has done, they've changed their pricing to $635,000. So they've just crossed out your offer on the pricing, and they've inserted their counter offer, and that is done both by text and numerically. And they have also initialed the changes on the contract. Now this change will come back to the buyer. The buyer is going to have a bit of a chinwag with the realtor, and the buyer at this point in time has three choices. They can ignore the counter offer, they can accept it, or they can counter it. In this case, because the pricing is relatively close, the buyer really likes the house, their sense of value is there, they like the area, the dates are fine, so they're going to accept the offer. Now they could have countered, but in this case they have chosen to accept. In doing so, what they're going to do is initial the changes that the seller has made on the counter offer, and we have a contract now where the changes have been initialed. The rest of the contract has been signed off. Buyer and seller have come to an agreement on an accepted conditional offer. Great job. Now all we have to do is move on to getting those subjects removed.